Fantasy football is here. I've done a ton of drafts this offseason, and these are the guys I just find myself drafting over and over again because I think they're going to be awesome and help people win fantasy championships in 2023. And let's start with the guy that I've called the RB1 ever since he was drafted number 8 by the Falcons, and that is Bijan Robinson. Been getting a lot of pushback on this from people, but I don't care. This guy is a generational talent at running back. He can literally do everything at the running back position. He's also going to be a tremendous pass catcher, and he landed in one of the best situations in this Atlanta offense behind this offensive line on an offense that's going to just run through him either on the ground or through the air. He's locked into pretty much 300 touches, probably 350 or more touches, has touchdown upside. Tyler Algier and Cordero Patterson were both highly efficient running backs in this offense last year, and Bijan is much better than both of them. Bijan Robinson absolutely poised to smash this year. I want him on every team I could possibly get him on. Now, if I can't get Bijan Robinson, the other running back I really want in the early rounds is Tony Pollard. Another guy I think has a potential to be the top scoring running back this year. Checks every box you want to see in a potential RB1. He's an explosive runner at any time. He can go 40, 50, 60 plus yards to the house. He's an efficient runner. He's a good pass catcher. No, he's probably not going to be a guy who's going to catch 80 plus, but he can at least get to that 50 catch mark, which for the RB1 is enough, especially for a guy like him in a great offense like the Dallas offense. He's going to have touchdown upside every week, and there is nobody behind him that's going to take touches from him. He's on the franchise tag. I bet the Cowboys just run him into the ground this year, get everything they can out of Tony Pollard, which isn't great for Tony Pollard necessarily, but it's great for our fantasy teams. Now, in a recent Endgame draft, I actually took Chris Olave over Tony Pollard. It was a tough decision, but I knew how wide receivers go, not to mention I love Chris Olave this year. I loved him last year too. He was one of my guys last year as well. He was my number 1 rookie wide receiver going into the draft last year. Did not disappoint. Already one of the best route runners in the entire NFL. And he was asked to run the tough routes. He wasn't out there running the easy routes. They were asking him to run the tough routes, and he did it, and he did it great. Now, if you've listened to me like the last couple years, you know I'm not a huge Derek Carr guy, but this is still better than Andy Dalton, Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, whoever he had thrown to him last year. Over 1,000 yards in only 15 games. He's going to have a monster target share in this offense. He's by far the number 1 alpha wide receiver, head and shoulders better than any other wide receiver on this team. Derek Carr is going to target him relentlessly, and it doesn't even really matter because Chris Olave did it last year with horrible quarterback play. He's primed for a huge second-year breakout. Now, a guy not really primed for a breakout, more like a bounce back, is Calvin Ridley. This is a guy I've really come around on. I'm drafting him every time I can. I think he's going to have a huge, potentially legendary wide receiver season this year. He's in his prime. He's an elite talent. He's a great player. He's looked great in preseason, and he landed in the perfect spot here in Jacksonville with an emerging quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, a generational talent, a quarterback offensive whisperer in Doug Peterson. This team was already top 10 in pass attempts per game last year. No reason to think that'll drop. If anything, it'll probably go up more now. And Calvin Ridley, head and shoulders better than all the wide receivers on this team. He's going to be the number 1 target, the number 1 target in the red zone. Don't be surprised if Calvin Ridley leads this team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Even among the running backs, he's that good. Calvin Ridley has the potential for a huge season this year. I've been drafting him everywhere. I've also been drafting second-year wide receiver Drake London as much as I can. Another guy primed for a second-year breakout. A very talented wide receiver. Great as a rookie. Just people don't realize it because the stats just aren't there. But look, he was stuck with Marcus Mariota for 2/3 of the season. Marcus Mariota looked like one of the worst QBs in the preseason this year, let alone one of the worst QBs, if not the worst starting QB in the entire NFL last year. No reason Mariota should have been starting NFL games. When Desmond Ridder came in down the stretch last year, Drake London actually put up pretty good numbers. Now Desmond Ridder going into year 2, a full offseason as a starter. Drake London going into year 2. Drake London is going to be a lot better than people think. This offense is going to be a lot better than people think. And he has hardly any competition for targets here. Kyle Pitts and then what? Mac Hollins? I mean, that's really it. So as long as the Falcons get to that 30, 31 pass attempts per game mark, that is plenty because he's going to have close to a 30% target share every single week. So we're talking about 9 to 10 targets a game. And for a guy as talented as Drake London, it's going to be very hard for him to fail. Drake London, a guy you can often get as your wide receiver 3, maybe even your flex, maybe your wide receiver 4 in a lot of drafts, he has a chance to way outperform that and be great in 2023. As does Rachaad White, whose ADP has just not really jumped up the way I would expect, I guess because he was disappointing last year. Never really overtook Leonard Fournette. I mean, sure, he technically became the starter, but it was still more of a 50-50 split. But everything is there for Rachaad White this year. He's going to be the workhorse running back. The only guys really behind him, Sean Tucker, undrafted free agent, Chase Edmonds, Keyshawn Vaughn, not worried about those guys. They obviously showed us in the preseason that Rachaad White is the clear workhorse lead back here. Didn't even play him until the last game. Played 9 snaps with the starters, and then he was out. That's all he did this preseason. They are obviously saving him for the regular season as a workhorse. But what I really love here is this pass catching. He has a path to 80-plus catches this year, an easy path to 85 or more targets this year. And I've talked about this before. Since 2000, running backs who have seen at least 85 targets finish as a top 12 PPR running back 88% of the time, and a top 12 half PPR running back 80% of the time. With Baker Mayfield at quarterback, or even Kyle Trask at quarterback, he should easily reach that 85 target mark. And if he does, that gives him a great chance not only to smash his ADP, but to be a top 12 league-winning running back, grabbing him every chance I can this year. I'm also grabbing running back James Cook every chance I can this year. Now, his ADP has certainly climbed. He's probably a guy you're going to need to get in the 7th, 8th round of your drafts now, but it is still worth it because this guy is going to give you so much weekly upside in this offense. And I love the way he fits this offense because he's not going to be the guy who's asked to come in on 3rd and short, obvious running downs. He's not going to be out there when the defense is expecting the run. He's going to be out there against lighter boxes. They're going to use him in the passing game. They're going to get him in space. And that is perfect for a player like James Cook because 1, he's one of the most explosive runners in the NFL. And 2, he's one of the most efficient runners in the NFL. This guy checks the boxes you want in a late round running back who could potentially help you win championships. He's going to catch enough passes to have value in your PPR leagues. He has decent touchdown upside in this offense. And he's the type of guy that on any play can take it to the house. One of my favorite later round, I guess now late middle-ish round running backs, but I'm still drafting him. I don't care that his ADP has gone up. I want him every chance I can. Now let's give quarterback a love, and I am trying to get Justin Fields in all of my drafts if possible. I really think Justin Fields has a chance to break fantasy football this year. We've actually seen a running quarterback who had question marks about their arm help people win fantasy championships over and over again, and still people are like, I have question marks about his arm. Who cares? He'll be good enough. Go back in time. Lamar Jackson, 2nd year. I don't know if he can throw. Yeah, he can throw, and he also can win you a championship. Josh Allen, year 3, he can't really throw. Oh, guess what? He can suddenly throw, and he won you a championship. What about Jalen Hurts the last 2 years? Granted, 2 years ago, he may not have won you a championship. He was like a top 5 QB, but last year, he certainly won you a championship. All it's going to take is for Justin Fields to get better as a passer, and he can't really get worse. 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns. Come on, this is 2023. Those are like 1970 numbers or something. He's going to be better as a passer, but he's still going to give you all that insane rushing upside, almost a lock for 1,000 yards, 6+ rushing touchdowns. Justin Fields, ready to break fantasy football this year. Don't be one of the people who are worried about his arm and not drafting him. And also, don't be worried about these 2 young wide receivers, starting with Jahan Dotson, who I love this year. Another guy I think is going to have a big second-year breakout, was an absolute stud last year, but the stats didn't show up because he was stuck with Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke. But now he got Sam Howell, and look, maybe Sam Howell will bust, but all signs are pointing to Sam Howell actually being pretty good so far. They already named him the starter for the whole year. Ron Rivera saying things like, man, I wish I would have known how good this guy was last year. I would have played him earlier. Like, aren't you the coach? Aren't you supposed to know this? But anyways, Sam Howell, he was talented at North Carolina. He put up numbers. It's not like he didn't do anything at North Carolina. Got Eric Bieniemy there. Jahan Dotson, a talented wide receiver. And look, Terry McLaurin probably going to miss a couple games, maybe 3 games to start the season. That's going to give Jahan Dotson a chance to be an absolute monster right out of the gate. Build that rapport with Sam Howell. I think Jahan Dotson has an incredible year this year. I wouldn't even be surprised if he outscored Terry McLaurin in 2023. Now, I would be surprised if Jordan Addison outscored Justin Jefferson, but that doesn't mean I'm still not drafting Jordan Addison every chance I can. I always like to get some rookie wide receivers on my bench. let him develop over the course of the year, because we see rookie wide receivers, really rookies after the team's bye or as the season goes on, become monsters. I think Jordan Addison is a guy who can be great from the beginning. He looked very good in the preseason playing with backup quarterbacks, making great catches. He's a talented wide receiver, and he's got the benefit of having Justin Jefferson, because defenses aren't going to go into the game worried about Jordan Addison. They're still going to do everything they can to stop Justin Jefferson. He's going to draw softer coverage, the softer corners. He's going to be wide open all over the field. Sure, he's not going to get the target share he could get if he was on a team where he was the only wide receiver, but his targets are going to be higher quality because they're going to be layup throws for Kirk Cousins. When Kirk Cousins doesn't see Jefferson open, there's Jordan Addison wide open, get him the ball. Jordan Addison's a great player. I think he has a great year this year. One of, if not the top scoring rookie wide receiver, the type of rookie wide receiver you can draft after pick 100 who can help you win a championship. So there's the 10 players I can't stop drafting, but what about the 10 players Pierre can't stop drafting? Find out here.